Plumbar Chicken Chamin, aka Big War, and a whole bunch of other AKAs. The Sobering Podcast, Season 8, Episode 14. We're back in this bitch, baby.
Yes, sir. Yo, it's Big Fred, aka Young P, because I'm snapping in pods. Yep, got a very special guest, distinguished gentleman, a majestic human. I mean, super dapper rapper.
Super dapper.
I mean, he might put you in some majestic, luxurious threads.
Yep.
The vocabulary is immaculate. The album is amazing.
Yep.
The God Anomaly author himself. Solo. I can't botch this because my
Ntsizwa Ka
Gunita.
Mthimkhulu.
That's it. That's my man's right there. You see it. My man's got me. No, we're fine. Shout out, man. What's good, fellas?
Oh man, so good, man, so good.
Second time on the pod.
Yeah, second.
Alumni.
Second
Last
time.
time on the second season or third?
I'm not sure if it was second or
It was a while ago, though.
It was a while. Yeah, it was the early days. Days.
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
That's
Crazy.
Yep.
Sure.
Yo, shout out to you guys, man. So you've been doing it for more than 7 years.
Yeah. It's our ninth
It's like
year.
ninth year.
Ninth wonder.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Oh, wait, man.
Congrats, fellas.
Yeah, congrats to you too, bro.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, my dog.
Congrats to you because like I was thinking about it, like you've seen so many stages in music now, like
So many eras.
so many eras.
Yeah.
You've done the hard copy, you've done the digital vibes, you've done, you know what I mean? You've done
I did
major,
mixtape first.
You know what I
Mixtape.
mean? Like,
Did all of that.
you've done everything, man. And it's just like, yo, man, like how has it been to see all of those stages? And do you even have a favorite stage?
Look, man, I think I'm a student at heart, just generally, right? So, if things are evolving, I'm evolving, if anything, right?
Yeah.
So, I also just assume that that's how things are supposed to happen. There's supposed to be this forward motion. So, similar to like even the approach with like the albums, like no album sounds like the previous one as well. So I think evolution is just embedded in how I create.
Yeah. I love
that.
So I expect the rest of the world to kind of do the same, if that makes sense. And that's also like a decision because you can also live in a world that doesn't evolve. If you choose to like look at the things that don't and feel like, no, there's a slow pace to life. But if you live in the reality of life, things evolve all the time and quite quickly.
It's very interesting because most hip hop people, like, they dwell on the, I like the way things used to be.
Yeah. I like to...
They like to keep it real.
Yeah. Being honest, though, I think that's resting on laurels in most cases, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably, you know, reminiscing on what worked well for the type of person you are.
Yeah.
And because that's the only reason you'd look back at that so fondly, I think. We don't often look back at like the trying times as like, that's when it worked the best.
Yeah.
You know? And I'll be honest with you, for me, especially in SA hip hop, I don't think that there's necessarily been a period that I felt worked for solo specifically.
Really?
Yeah, again, otherwise I wouldn't have been looking at having to adapt as often as I felt it was necessary.
You wouldn't need to evolve.
I wouldn't need to.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, that's what the God Anomaly is. That's kind of how I defined the foundation of this album. Was this idea that I found that in very specific pockets of like hip hop and even entertainment generally, it always felt like people had an idea of where I should be better positioned.
Where you be better suited.
So then I'd be like, maybe with like the rappers and the artists in the North.
Yeah.
You know? And they'd be like, yeah, but isn't like the artistic space. Aren't those your people?
That's your people.
That's your people, you know?
More brown.
Yeah,
And then, you know what I mean? Legit. And then I'd be in those spaces, and they'd be like,
You're not
but
boy, aren't
you're
you?
more celebrity than you are, you know?
Yeah.
And to a point where, again, this idea of being the anomaly has kind of just followed me in my career.
Yeah.
You know? And it wasn't always like a positive, it didn't always have like positive connotations. Depending on what we're discussing. It's like, it's dope that you're an anomaly, or unfortunately, because you're an anomaly.
Yeah.
You know? And I wrestled with that for a very long time. And the idea of the God Anomaly was me kind of just making a decision about the frequency that I'm now willing to, you know, to absorb that title with. You know, if I say God, it can't be low frequency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just the idea of just, I guess, owning that anomaly title. And also then being like, besides owning it, I'm gonna lean into it, man. Yeah.
So when you put out music, I guess maybe I'm trying to understand if that's why you didn't put out like an album for so long, or is it because you look at the landscape? Do you look to fit into this whole puzzle, or you just do you and put it out there and make peace with the fact that you are the anomaly?
So I definitely. So it might not necessarily be about fitting into the puzzle, but I'm always looking at how I can serve
The climate.
but serve this thing of ours.
Okay.
Rather than the climate, how can I serve this thing of ours as well? You know, because I care for this thing. But I think my challenge has always been that the wanting to be of service, but also fitting in, which I think is the difference maybe this time around. And not even this time around. Like I said, this time around, I leaned into it more. I think that's the difference. You know, it's a very interesting thing when you can make something now and look back and feel like, my other projects feel like they were almost solo. Just by virtue of, again, wanting to still, you know, thread it carefully and still at some level fit in correctly whilst, you know, presenting myself, you know, with whatever project. This one, the God Anomaly, has very little of that. You know? I think you see it in the rollout, you see it in the visuals. You know? There was a commitment artistically that I had this time around, which is what took time. You know, like going back to, for example, the Shewe music video. You know, the Shewe music video saw me doing actual dance choreography and doing like combat.
It came out years ago, ne?
So it's 2 years.
2 years ago.
2022 November. Right? But even with that, it's not the coolest thing to do, to be like, you know, let me go learn some choreography real quick. I'll be back, and that's what my music video is gonna have in it.
But also, like, the way you
put it like that.
Put it like that.
But what I'm saying is, you know, but that was, you know, traces of past self that was very concerned about the fitting in and the cool aspect.
Of how
that's what I'm
it's gonna
talking
look.
about. You know what I mean? Whereas when I hit up Snembata,
That's what I was about to say. Or like even like the way you leaned into it is like even on a higher level.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Because she was fresh off the Woman King.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? She was fresh off the Woman King, and it was.
And also, you know, and again, why I shout out Snare so much is because she had said to me that, you know, for her to be a part of this, I'm gonna need to come to her in Cape Town, and we're gonna need to have a week of body conditioning, if anything.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because it's still stunt work, right? It's still stick fighting, it's all of that. And she takes her craft very seriously.
So, as she should.
Absolutely. But that's what I mean. Like, then, you know, booking a flight, booking accommodation, seeing her every single day, doing that, you know, taking the time to do that. Because again, I'm not a dancer. Or rather, sorry, Sneh, I know you said I shouldn't say I'm not a dancer. take that back. But I think that's where my head was at. But again, I was just like, man, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna lean in this time around.
All the way.
You know? And that's, I think, the difference in like the approach to this project. And I guess being able to answer like tough questions I had to ask myself about, again, so then what is my role here? Yeah. How can I be of service? How do I, in fact, fit in? And I think the answer that came to me was you fit in by leaning into the anomaly aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think I'm just throwing back to like a conversation we had on the pod when we were talking about the investment of making an album and if albums are still relevant. You know what I mean? In this climate, this space of time, in this playlist era and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
And then the way that you've gone into this album, there's so much investment in it. Yeah. Not even first of all, the album sounds expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it really
it is.
It sounds budgeted.
Like it sounds blockbuster. You know what I mean? It's so good. It's like really sonically amazing. You know what I mean? And you can hear that there's a lot of investment in that. Yeah. But now, even speaking to you now, there's even more of a
unseen investment,
a discipline, a time investment. And then when you're looking at the scope of things and the conversation of music being cheapened in some shape or form, how do you make a decision to invest so much, not even financially, just even like time-wise, into creating this body of work?
Yeah.
Again, when we go back to the idea of being of service, that's what I feel I can contribute to the game now. Where I feel, that's what I feel is needed. I think we need more evidence of why it's important to invest. You know? In this climate, is there a space for cinema?
Bar.
You know what I mean? Because people could definitely.
It's also another conversation that's being had right now.
Exactly, bro. But that's what I'm saying. So, are we ready to lose cinema?
Yeah.
Because I think that, for me, that's what it kind of boils down to. The things that I'm an advocate for, and then what my responsibility is to then champion and fight for those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yes, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take money. It's going to take time. It's going to take all those things.
Yeah.
But I know I might be lost of the Mohicans technically in that space, but the people who care for that exist. They definitely exist.
Yeah.
So maybe the challenge then is, you know, find the tribe then, right?
Yeah.
Like, but even with that, you can't then be passive about how you then present and how many people you can actually reach with the music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not in the business of finding your tribe if you're only speaking to a small group of people. Right?
Yeah.
In order to find your tribe, you need to still cast the net wide. It needs to be a sifting exercise that happens where what's then left is your tribe.
Yeah.
But that's why then it still has to be an investment. That's why I still have to throw as much as I can into it, you know, really kind of pay for the promotion, do everything that artists who maybe have it automatic still do, you know? I can't lean into it creatively then be passive about how I make, you know, my efforts in terms of trying to make it reach people. Unfortunately, it doesn't go both ways. Unfortunately, it is an expensive exercise.
Yeah.
You know? But again, it's the thing that I'm, you know, not even reluctantly signed up for. I'm happy to do that because, again, that's the part that I think qualifies as my service, my contribution to the game.
With what's in it for you? What's the return? Besides it being just like your service, but and especially if he's talking like business-wise, if money's put in, it has to come back in some way, you know?
Yeah, man, look. Again, being a career artist means that these things are important to interrogate.
Yeah.
Where I find the value is in the back end.
In there?
In the back end.
Oh, okay.
So what's your deal structure? You know, what are the, because again, there's all these partners that I have in all of this. What's the structure of all of that? Because that won't necessarily require me to be the most streamed artist to live.
Yeah.
If my structure is correct.
Yeah.
There's a reason why from, you know, at the beginning of it all, the money to make the album, create it, do everything came from me. It's so that there's certain, it's so that I have ownership of very specific things. So now when I'm sitting down with, again, potential partners in all of this, my leverage is the fact that I don't need too much from you, right?
Oh, okay.
And that's what it is. The importance of the back end is everything.
Yeah.
Because you also want to find yourself in a position where when things connect and it really clicks, then you're in a position to really then, you know, to really earn from what you did. It's mine to
You get
earn
the biggest
from.
stake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's more that. It's the fact that the structures are in place for when those connections happen, then siyapop.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that for me is what's more important, because in a time of, again, streaming, right? In a time of catalog, it could be different projects that really, you know, like God Anomaly can take off, and then so can the catalog, all at the same time. You know, that's what the benefits of these structures are today. If you're gonna look for any benefits, but at the same time, if your back end is right, then you then are in a position to benefit. You know, you know, the publishing structures. There are all these very intricate things that come with that. Another thing is that I'm very entrepreneurial. I'm not asking. I don't come in asking.
What's your background?
What is my background?
What did you study?
Finance?
I studied finance.
Yeah.
I didn't finish though.
Yeah, well, it was like a year to go, and then you're like, I'm out.
There was a semester to go. There was a semester to go, and I was like, nah. But I did that whole thing of like, let me burn my bridges, because I don't want this thing
Burn
that
the
I can
boats.
perfectly like lean on where I know, you know. But I mean, I'm the finance guy for Ports of LNG.
Yeah.
You know, today. We still have accountants. My point is, I still have to.
Yeah.
So all those lessons still come back, you know. That's why, you know, doing multiple things is important. But yeah, you know, the other things that I do, you know, I do a lot of voiceover work now. There's a lot. My point is, the expansion into multiple things is the thing that also maybe affords me a freedom to think in a very sober manner when it comes to the music, right? Being able to silence noise that allows me to make an album like this one. These are the things that allowed me to lean in, is my point, you know? And actually, man, at some point, I remember thinking to myself that, like, there's actually nothing more hip hop than entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? It's actually so hip. Like, you know, I remember thinking back to, like, remember things like MTV Cribs, and there used to be this other MTV show where, like, they'd follow, like, what an artist does.
Diary.
No, it wasn't Diary, bro. There was this other one where, like, I remember they had, like, all this animation where they'd essentially count your cash. They'd be like, so he also has.
The amazing,
Fabulous Life.
The Fabulous Life. That one, bro.
Yeah, that was
So I remember stopping and thinking back and being like,
where they overuse the cash register sound effects.
yeah, that sound effects, exactly. And the animation of, like, money piling up. But the thing about that show is it really highlighted how all my favorite artists were so entrepreneurial.
Yeah, had like numerous
They had
streams.
Everyone was selling rims.
Yeah.
Everyone had like 3 restaurants. Everybody had, and that I think that's a part of, like, I think we left out that part of like the lessons in
Totally agree
hip
with
hop.
you.
Oh,
Totally
so
agree with
true.
you.
You know what I
Totally
mean?
agree
Very
with you.
true.
And now that I sit in the position that I sit in, I'm just like, yeah, dude, there's nothing more hip hop than me
Yeah.
thinking what else.
Yeah.
You know? Because again, it's the freedom it afforded me. It afforded me the freedom to silence the noise and make an album that sounds like me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
So also when you say what's in it for me,
Yeah.
it's also because, again, I can prioritize the service because I'm not so much prioritizing this thing changing my life financially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? But again, there are things in place for that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You know? But it's not, it wasn't the objective of the album.
You're not looking to it for like the bond payment.
I'm not, yeah, it's not, yeah, it's not like, yo, fellas, if you don't
If we
stream
don't-
X
yeah,
number of
yeah.
times, I'm in trouble in September. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
not that.
Yeah.
And to be able to create from that place is a privilege, but it's such a great freedom, guys.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then you spoke of partners. Who
Yeah.
are these partners, and what does the structure look like? What is the plan there? Like what are we moving the catalog towards? What are we aiming at?
So I think, especially with this project, I really look at this album as like the OST for the live performance, because we built the live performance at the same time. That was another thing that we did quite differently this time around. And the analogy I like to use is that of a stand-up comedian who was in their off season, who is maybe workshopping jokes for like their next special. So you'll find them in like small, small
Small
comedy
venues,
clubs
yeah.
with
Yeah.
like pen and pad
Yeah.
and like testing out jokes.
Yeah.
We did a couple of performances last year that weren't, where we didn't put out flyers publicly or whatever. But we put on shows where we were, and not even just last year, from 2022. Yeah. Where we were doing exactly that, right? Just kind of workshopping things. Then we'd go back to the studio and tweak things accordingly as well, right? So we kind of looked at it like essentially the main event, where the you can experience the audio of the project this way, but like, catch the show, because that's
That's
really
what
where you
it's-
see the interpretation. I also, I approached the music videos in a very similar way, in that we again leaned into it, just because we really felt like these different versions of this thing is actually what's going to be important for us going forward, So when I speak of my partners, so my manager, for example, Jean-Michel Wickley.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, dope.
he's been managing me for, it's so funny. He's been managing me for years, and this is the first album that I've put out with him,
Yeah.
And, we reflected on that and we're like, that's weird, man, because you've been here for years, man. What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Because you've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
And, but again, like what we've been looking at is, even like structures of like, how can you actually tour a concept?
Yeah.
And again, we're building off of like stuff we did in 2018 with tour dates, because we were interrogating that question back then as the Better Gang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's the advantage of having data throughout the years, and just accumulating it and then tweaking things and being like, okay, then what we can take from that is we just probably need to tweak this to be able to, to approach things differently this time around, or make it slightly more successful, if anything.
Yeah.
So what my structures are right now is essentially, it's the Better Gang, it's Jean-Michel, it's the Orchard as my distributor, and the rest of the things I still control.
Oh, okay.
And until we find partners that make sense for certain things, there's certain things that I'm not relinquishing just yet. It also made sense to have the project ready before having these sit downs. Some of these conversations are still continuous, and only when the fit is right will we then, have another partnership in place? But I think, again, the idea of being very careful with what those relationships are and what those contracts are. Yeah.
So now you mentioned what would you identify as, right? Just from a classification standpoint, because like you mentioned, like you got Better Gang. I'm guessing Better Gang is more on the musical soundscape of things.
Yep.
And then you've got your management, Jean-Michel.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the distribution being through Orchard, right?
Uh-huh.
But then how does that fall into, because Orchard is like owned by a major, right?
Correct.
And then would you identify as a major artist or an independent artist if when it's like that, basically?
So for the mere fact that it's purely distribution, and remember, so for example, the Orchard doesn't sign artists.
Yeah.
The Orchard has relationships with labels. You know what I mean? So solo Ntsizwa Ka Mthimkhulu doesn't really have a relationship on paper with the Orchard. 1988 Music does, which is my label.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So just by virtue of that, I am independent, right? But there's structures. There's a reason why, distributors that are owned by majors can make sense today, because there's certain things that you can tap into, just by virtue of that, which we did a lot of with this album specifically, so I'm not necessarily I'm not this big advocate of indie versus major. It's about what
works for you.
What's the agreement? That's actually
what's
what
in the
matters.
partnership.
What's in the partnership? Because again, a deal with a major is still bespoke, or at least it should be.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It really should be. So that for me is the thing. The for example, the concept of the 360 deal.
Yeah.
Right, is like one place that is answering multiple things. What really is the difference when solo has multiple partners answering multiple things? The difference is the fact that you have, I guess it's different entities, but ultimately a 360 is different offices in one place answering different things. So again, my point is I don't like this idea of vilifying these different structures, because again, it's really just about the agreement.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's also about what leverage you have.
Big truth.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I work very hard to put myself in a strong negotiation place before even having these discussions. But that's what is it now? 10 years plus doing this will teach you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're someone who's not a big fan of restricted movement. You sort of strive hard to move freely in what you do. Where does that sort of come from? Is it from what you learned in the music, or is it sort of a life thing that might have happened, or is it just?
Probably a bit of all of that. And I say that because, again, man, I think just as a team, we're constantly just trying to get our dope ideas out. And sometimes having to justify those things tough becomes a little tricky, And that for me is where that's where maybe my rigidity can kick in. Where I'm just yo, man, with all due respect, we're the ideas people. With all due respect.
Sit in your office.
Let us do that, And I can also understand if we're asking you then to be the people who sell it, where you're just but then we don't know how to sell it. Respectfully, then that's why I'm not asking you to sell it. Then I'll go find the partners who can, even if they can almost see it. I'm happy to also walk them through it as well. But I think that's what it is. It's about having to still have that creative freedom, if anything, because again, I've been in positions where you know, where I've had the exact same team as so and so.
Yeah.
But like you can't sell me like so and so because we're not doing the same thing.
It's not a copy and paste.
It's not a copy and paste thing. It's,
Yeah.
you know, earlier in my career, like putting me in the clubs to like perform my stuff. But I pull up with L the Third and Solid, and we have the MPC.
Yeah.
Oh, dog.
What
The
are they
girls
doing?
are so bored, bro. They're just like,
First of would even put the MPC in the
you know what I
club.
mean, dude? And like,
Just
and
watching you set up, they get annoyed.
like-
dude, they just like, here we go again, bro.
I think crafts.
I mean, and it's like, you know, and early we'd sit in this position where it's like, we don't want to be here. You don't want us here. Who are we doing this for?
Yeah.
What's this
Who's
exercise
winning?
about?
Yeah.
Who is this for?
Yeah.
You know, and it was always funny because like we'd be at like a taboo, and the only person who's enjoying this is the in-house sound engineer
Yeah,
at the club who never has to do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the first time, he's like, I get to plug things in, dog. This is just dog. When these guys show up, dog. Yeah, it's just like male, female. What are we doing? But honestly, it was just that. It's knowing that like this is not where we present ourselves in the best way.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't even, and it's not even about the people in that space. It's that when they're in this space, that's not what they're looking
Yeah,
for.
it's also that
Yeah, we're
space is
not
not
here
for
for
that.
It's not for
It's
that.
not for that.
You know,
Yeah.
I've been in the club and and an artist has grabbed a mic and been like, yo, what's up? And I've gone,
Here we go.
Come on, dog. Just let Speedster run, dog. What are we doing, dog? You know? So I
do that.
So I get that feeling, you know, and that's why I'm just like, so let's not do things just to do things.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
and I spent my first few years like quiet and listening and learning. You know, I absorbed. And then after some time, I was like, okay, I'll tell you why I don't want to do it. You know? And again, like and for any artist, like you come in and you find the game as what it is, right? So you learn and certain things you're like, okay, I understand why that's necessary. But other things, and especially if like it just doesn't make sense for what you're trying to do, you know, I just feel like you don't have to, man.
I remember like the one of the first shows I saw you guys perform with the NPC. We were in Maboneng somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember we were on the bill as well. You know, and we like just like gave the guy a CD, just play, just press play, we'll do our thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I saw you and you were watching. And I came up to you, I forgot what I was asking. And you're like, nah, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here for. I was like, even back then, I was like, damn, that's super intentional. You know what I mean?
dog. When I hear stories of young Solo, I'm always just like, man, you've been serious about this for a
you're
long
serious
time.
about
No, it was serious on another level, because you were like, I was like, yo, man, just have fun. I remember after you, Smee was supposed to come on after you.
Oh yeah?
It was like, so it was that kind of crowd. It was that kind of crowd. It was Mashaya. It was Mashaya.
Was it street cred maybe?
No,
I forget what it was. That like
I
it was
wonder
like,
what that was.
and you were like serious, dog. Like, everyone is like moving around. You were serious. I was like, yo, man, blah blah blah. And you're like, nah, that's not what I'm here for. That stuck with me, bro.
Oh man.
Yes, like I've also had those moments. I'm just like, man, I could take a leaf out of this
Yeah, I'm
book.
like,
Actually, where there was something, we were working on something on the television space.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
There was like mishaps happening.
Yeah.
So I'm updating you on all the mishaps. You know what I mean? And something was late. This was late. He's like, yo, man, I just want to let you know, if anything was late, it's not on our part.
Sounds like me.
I'll tell you another story. We were doing a Nando session. Everyone, like the writer and the client, they don't know how to pronounce this Portuguese word.
Oh,
This guy goes, I am telling you, it said like this. He gets on a call, he calls someone, he's like, this is how it said. So I want you to know, if it's mispronounced, it's not my fault.
Hey, man. I mean well, guys.
It's like you do a lot of CYA.
But the thing about it, right, it is well.
It's dope, though.
It
It's
can't be
dope.
taken
It's like,
as not meaning well.
I think it's integrity.
Yeah.
I think it's integrity, you know?
Oh no, but so let me tell you, others. Why I say like I mean well is, again, I hear all these stories about like I think interactions in the past that I remember in a very different way, I guess, compared to other people. So like, so even like with the Orchard now, right? So the team at the Orchard, some of those guys used to be at Sheer Publishing back when I was at Sheer. You know, so now when I'm at the Orchard and like we're reminiscing, and again I'm reminiscing fondly, and they're just like, we don't remember.
It's not how it
Like that.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I used to pull up and like, I'd check up on you guys all the time. And they're like, check up.
That was micromanaging.
No, dog,
brother.
you'd pull up and like you'd be just like, no, guys, that's not what we agreed on. You were smacking tables and stuff. And I was like, oh, snap. Honestly, I don't remember it that way. My bad. You know?
Damn.
But I think, again, it's just that, man. It's the always, you know, knowing that like I can see it here.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the frustration of, we all agreed that we saw it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it was all, you know, we all delegated. We were like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
This is
This is your
everything I
part,
have
this
to
is
do.
your part, this is your part.
And obviously the lion's share is all on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So I go and I do all those things and I come back and I'm like, great news, guys, I did everything.
Yeah. It's done.
And then it's like, wait, what do you mean 3 things aren't done? I don't understand, you know? Yeah, man. I guess apparently I was a little more, I guess, radical in how I
can see
express
that.
those things.
I can actually see that.
earlier.
They say.
I don't know about smacking tables. I'm scared of the smacking table.
No, man.
It's just like,
Also,
Sometimes you got to make a point.
Is there like a situation where you maybe feel like I might have taken this one, maybe yourself or the situation too serious?
so I think, again, it's like when you know how you want it to be seen, right? And again, like the structures in place are such that it almost makes more sense for us to go through one system.
Yeah.
Like as SA hip hop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It allows things to move quicker.
Yeah.
So something as basic as, again, if I'm booked at a place where all the other artists they just have their tracks on USB.
Yeah.
And now we have to stop this entire thing because you need 15 minutes to plug in all these different things.
Yeah.
Plus you got to test sound. Plus you got to do this and that.
Now we're listening to a guy go, do, do, do.
Exactly. You know? So it's that's what I mean, right? It's sometimes the fact that like the things that are in place currently, you know, the structures weren't built for what we're trying to do.
Okay.
And more often than not, I'm the one being asked to compromise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at some point you just stop and you go, then what needs to change here? Like for the longest time we were told, but unfortunately your rig is such that, you know, we're not going to go hire these things out for you. And I was like, I can respect that. So we went and bought all the equipment. It took us time to do it, but now we have our own everything. And now ideally, you know, when we play whatever place, we're just like, as in, can we give you these 2 cables?
Yeah.
You're just going to handle the master.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
We'll handle
Everything
the
else
rest
we
as
done,
well.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not from a place of like undermining other engineers, but again, because it takes so much effort for us to do what we're doing that like, if things go wrong, we'd rather blame ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of the place we got to. Ultimately, we were just like, then we'd rather control most of this.
Yeah.
You know, we'd rather then hire the venue and then we bring everything.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes more sense for what we're trying to do. That's what it is.
And then how did Basha work out? Did you have to stop because you had a choir even?
Yeah. So actually, Basha was actually really dope, man. Again, one of those situations where now that setting is more built for what we do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because again, there's like a sound check and you have a whole hour to like really run through everything, you know, run through every line, run through click, save, etc. You know, in these situations though, you know, technical issues happen, definitely happened on Saturday. But again, by virtue of there being engineers and stuff, we were able to kind of power through and, you know, actually give a dope performance.
Yeah.
Because the feedback that we got was
nice.
Again, people weren't picking up the issues we were picking up. And that's what we're built more for that. And that's what we've been working towards, you know? I had a conversation with DJ Capital, actually, on shout out Capital, man. Yo, Capital hit me up, I think maybe like 2 days before the listening session, and was like, yo, we should do an after party at Rockets for like, because the album dropped at midnight after the listening session. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, man, you know, initially. And then eventually I was like, actually, you know what, dude, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we did it, dog.
Yeah.
It looked like a good time.
It was such a good time, man. And also, I wouldn't have stopped to celebrate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the listening session isn't a celebration.
Yeah. You're still working.
It's work.
Yeah.
You know? So we literally stopped and we celebrated, man. And Franz Solo came out even. Yeah. Franz Solo is when I drink.
Yeah.
Franz Solo is when I drink. And like, and it was, dog, it was such a good time. Yeah. But like one thing that he said to me, because he was also at the listening session, right? And he said to me, yo, man, I forgot who he said he was talking to, but he was like, as I was listening to the music, I was like, oh, so this music is built for festivals. Yeah. And I was like, that's dope that you're picking that up in just listening to it, because that's our objective. Yeah. And again, man, I'll say this. I don't know any artist who doesn't want to play a festival. Right? Yeah. But I'm just saying that, like, for years we've been so intentional about wanting to play in that space, and we've rehearsed for that, you know, as much as we can. And so for us, it's just like a beautiful thing when those dots are connecting before I even have to say it. Yeah. You know. But yeah, I think just kind of being structured for those things, and again, taking the years to refine whatever needs to be refined to be ready for that.
Yeah. Even like we're breezing past like the listening session. That was amazing, bro.
Thank you.
Like that thing was like, it wasn't just like we're playing music and listening and then we're going home. Yeah. Like there's a whole installation outside where the Dolby Atmos setup was amazing. And then a whole installation upstairs, like on how you like with the sound bar, how you like in a home setting, how this Dolby Atmos would work.
How can you?
And we're watching the music videos in Dolby Atmos. It was like, yo,
bro.
But
that thing was set up nice.
Still
very hip hop.
Because when I walked in, you know, also because of the venue, I'm like, my Maga Shaka is gonna be. I walked in, it's like mad niggas. Like everybody, like Questa was there, Kid
I was like, Kid X,
Jimmy Wiz,
pretty ugly.
I was like, yo, I told you something like, yo, I wasn't prepared for these niggas. I wasn't prepared.
Nah, man, still
nice.
Yeah, man, still very hip hop. Again, so every time I say this thing of ours, I'm very specific about what I'm servicing. I'm servicing hip hop. Legit, man. That's where my care lies. You know, and again, being able to be like, yo, so that's another thing. Like the Dolby Atmos thing, for example. To me, when that was introduced to me, it really just felt like an opportunity to take storytelling to another level. That's what I heard when it was kind of broken down to me. So when we really started, you know, leaning into, you know, just the mixing of that, we took maybe like 6 months to mix in Dolby Atmos, just because we wanted to be so intentional about, again, you know, if you are in a position where you can choose to have the sound of like fire crackling coming from behind you specifically, for a very specific reason, you know? Like even things like, so the music video for Crop Circles has me, you know, playing this very paranoid character, right? And, you know, it starts with me kind of with my head back, and then I sit up in a very paranoid way, and I'm just like, yo, what the fuck was that? Right? And then I turn my head and I go, wait, fuck is that? And then again that way. If you listen to the album in Dolby Atmos, the first, yo, what the fuck was that is here. Then the second one is here, and the third one is here. So that's what I mean. For me, the fact that I can choose to do that is such a big thing for me. And obviously that's now just the nerd in me just like really geeking out on these things. But like, being able to do that is such a big thing. For
Even the way you guys mix that guy who's like Mr. Langa.
yeah,
That shit was like...
Hey, that song.
Yo, the
yeah, bro. Yeah.
Yo.
So
Yeah. That song is
It's-
like,
yeah.
it's a
hectic.
problem, yo.
and it's and you know, opening the album that way,
Yo.
Yeah, bro.
you know, was its own. So that one for me is also another interesting one, right? Because again, we started working on this album 2021,
Yeah.
and when making that song, you know, this is around the time of, again, you know, COVID time, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely felt like a time where we kind of all relate to death at the same time,
100%,
you know?
100%.
Yep.
And that's where it stemmed from. And I remember feeling like there was so much music that was out that served as like the perfect distraction in that
Distraction,
time.
yeah. I was about to say distraction.
You know,
yeah.
which was important, like, which
Yeah, we
helped.
needed it,
It helped
yeah.
a great deal. But it also felt like we didn't have enough that like faced it,
Yeah.
you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's why that song was that, and why it, for me, it felt like it was always gonna open the album.
Yeah.
As a result,
Yeah.
you know, because sure, we're moving on, but like we're still living traces of that period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Big truth.
So there's still a lot to get through.
Yeah.
And that's why that song specifically, Gufao Daily, was always gonna be the opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think only 4 artists depicted that sort of vibe.
That
and
period.
all of them has been like the first track, funny
Yeah.
enough. Like,
Oh, yeah?
Of grief. Like you have, globally, I mean, Kendrick with United in Grief.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah,
then
real.
Nasty C, on his previous album,
Yeah.
his latest album, the first track, even though it wasn't like COVID period, but he speaks on his mom's, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean, and then just one line off of Tato Soul's on what's Gangster, I forget the title.
Life is
And
Gangster.
Life is Gangster. Life is Gangster. And he had one bar, he was like 2021, it's up and down, koma bitle.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Real.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was in that time. And then, like, yours and Nasty's is so visual, though.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
because you guys go into, like, the reality of grief
Yep.
in such a vivid way.
Yep.
The admin of grief.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
when you literally, like, you've just lost someone and then you jump into
You gotta do work.
admin mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
There's
mean?
still paperwork to be signed off
Yep.
on, and you need to do it
Yep.
quickly.
Yep.
You have to be on
Here's
it.
a death certificate.
Bro, bro, like,
Oh,
with
that's why I say, like, when that happened, dog, it was like
that just
the
that
relation, the
sentence,
relation of that.
Yeah.
insane, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Insane,
Yeah.
insane. It was just like, wow, man. Very
bro.
cinematic.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
How you open that. So like,
Yeah.
kudos to that, because again, like when you're saying, it's like when you're saying like you're doing a service for real, that's what I got from the album. You know when they say music is a calling, as like a waitress to like, just it's almost like a
Yeah.
platitude almost, and
Sure.
people just breeze over it. But this album literally depicted that. You know what I mean? Because there's
bro.
also another joint where you're speaking on how people have just gone into worldly ways, and like you had like this sarcastic
Indlela.
tone. I think
Yeah.
And the Nguni joints,
It's-
dog,
it's-
you know what I mean? You're gonna have to let me walk, man.
That's why
Good, my dog.
Even like, it was just like, man, this is
even now when we were setting up, I was like sitting. No,
the Easter egg in that for me, it was just like, I found that so sweet. Like you're because again for sure. And then your love language buaka puya.
Yes,
It was just like that's so beautiful.
And also in the beat, it has sort of like, I don't want to say it's a two-step or whatever of Tswana music.
Correct.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
Like you can already see that.
music
You can already see it. Yeah.
But I found that so beautiful, and like the theme of God is really out there, because it even feels like that's God speaking, like that's or God's or our,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
For sure.
that are saying, "Oh, is this what you're doing now?
Got you.
Oh, you've forgotten your ways. You know what I mean? Or you're living worldly now. You know,
Exactly, bro.
You're not paying attention to the spirit now. You know." And I was just like, "Yo, man, like tapping into that. I haven't seen it done in that manner, and." Even that the conversation that you have to be like that vulnerable. How is that to say, yo, I'm gonna peel into with self.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go into this realm and strip off these layers.
Yeah, dude. So I again, man, around that time, right? Around 2021, it's the, you know, just again the vulnerability of that time. For all of us. I think that's what's so unique about that time, right? So I think it's the one time where we can all relate to, you know, being stripped to just human. Yeah. You know? And it was everything, right? It was, again, how mortality was right in our faces, how uncertainties of, yo, how are we getting this bread? It was all those things all at the same time, right? Which really had me stop and ask myself, then what's it for then? Yeah. You know? That's why even this idea of, I wasn't trying to answer the what's in it for me. Yeah. You know, it wasn't about that. It was man, I could be putting my time into other things, including my marriage, my family. There's all these things that hold so much weight for me, that like the why this time around had to be so real. To justify me putting all my energies into this thing. Yeah. Right. So I think it kind of like embedded a purpose in this album that that was different to every other time. So it would have been silly not then to be vulnerable in the approach. Right. There would have been a real disconnect. You know, I think it just wouldn't have added up as an art piece if the only way to do it was vulnerable. And that's, again, going back to I had to make a decision to lean in here, you know, and also make the personal decision and then trust that the rest of the team will catch up to it, right? Because it was a very personal thing. I had to, you know, I had to, again, have everybody else plug in and go, oh, we're taking it there. Yeah. Okay, dog, we get it. You know, it's something as basic as, so I wrote out all the treatments for the music videos, right? Because I had them in order. And you know how weird it is to like send a treatment to, again, like, director, but as well as everybody else that you need in there that, you know, that says, okay, so in this one, I'm a ram. Okay. And I have horns, right? And I'm almost sacrificial. And then everybody else kind of is the two different sides of family. Like on paper, that sounds crazy, man. It's, you know, like for people to buy in is such a, you know, but again, it's because they were so plugged into the process that they were just like, hey man, I think he knows what he's doing. Let's go, you know? And it's also the thing about approaching projects this way is there's a very fine line between executing right and cheesy. You know what I mean? Very fine line. Truth. Very, very fine line. And if you let that voice play enough, you're probably just not going to do it. You know? So it was all of that. I think mentally there was a lot I needed to do to also just be like, yo, man, again, off service this time around, surrendering to the project. It was all of those things. And I'm glad that, like, timing wise, I was at a place in my life where I was actually very comfortable with stripping off the cool for the sake of what this is.
There's a line on Indlela that I love so much. What is it? A corner set aside for devotion, but you can tell by the dust.
Candles haven't felt any torching. I guess I'm gambling with luck. Then that's when I go, coffee.
Coffee,
yeah, dude. It's
you made me go to church over and over, boy. I was like, okay,
but like, but yeah, I think I found myself in that cycle, I think we all do, man.
Yeah.
You know when you find yourself in that cycle where you're embarrassed to pray?
Yeah.
Because you're just like, what's God gonna say this time?
Yeah.
You know? Like legit, where you feel like, ish, dog. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we ain't spoken so long. It's that.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of like, dude, I'm sorry, I relapsed, bro. You know? And it's that thing where like, but we're so demanding all at the same time, right? Like we ask so much of this world. We ask for so much favor from this world, right? We sometimes maybe sit in isolation and speak about how unfair things are for us as the individual, overlooking the fact that you're still here and you're protected.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes like, but how dare you, dude? You know? I think, and that's what that record was.
Yeah.
It's being vulnerable enough to like, you know, cry at like the feet of your parents. And I mean that also like in a ancestral way, right? But it's like, sure, I hear and see all this vulnerability, but like, sometimes do you see us?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And again, with God, we demand so much, and it's like, yo, man, just sometimes just the gratitude of, seeing another day, you know? Yeah. Maybe sometimes that needs to trump these things that these frivolous things that we're caring so much for, you know? But it's just one of those records that kind of just speaks to that, you know, that like, yeah, sure, but you're not paying attention to like, when last did you go to that corner just to pray, you know? But yeah, man, it's one of my favorite records as well.
Yeah, no.
Definitely.
Shout out Muzi for that.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey.
Yo, man.
Muzi.
Yeah.
Shout out if we did do one.
No.
And then outside of like the site being set on festivals and anything, what else can we get? Can we get from this album? More videos?
Yeah, more visuals for sure.
Yeah.
I think we have a few more to go. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that. I think also we're actually trying to do something very dope with this idea of like a mobile Dolby Atmos rig. So just having like different versions of like these pop-ups and stuff. But again, like, you know, these are very ambitious things, you know. We hope to see as many of these concepts through as possible. But yeah, I think there's a lot in terms of what the installation of this project is going to be. Like I said earlier, like, I think it's important that, you know, I don't feel like I have the luxury to be passive with this project. Yeah. You know, just in terms of the awareness of it, getting it out there, you know? So that's what we're doing, man. That's the objective right now. Yeah. I mean, pre-release, I felt like was so strong, you know?
Yeah.
But the job for me starts with post-release. Yeah. I think my job starts now. Yeah. You know? That's how I look at it.
Can I tell you one thing that fucked me up?
Yeah.
Was your hair in Free the Rams?
In Separate the Rams.
Yeah,
Separate the Rams.
I was like, I know I ain't seen this nigga in a while, but he's dressed like that long time.
Yeah,
Because when you had them as the horns, I was like, nah, man. With these extensions.
Yeah, dog. It was
okay,
a
now
whole...
I'm at ease now. It's like, no, man. He can't be that tall. It's it.
I did that hair like the day before. Soon as they said it's a wrap, dog.
You were just like
straight. That shit was so impractical, dog. When I say to you, my blind spots were gone. Like at some point, I was at the crib and I thought I was talking to Dinelle because last I checked, she was on the couch. But she's been gone for a minute, dog, and I've been going on and on and on, you know.
Oh man,
that thing was not practical.
That's hilarious.
Not practical at all.
It's a great video though.
Thank you,
Nice
bro.
And beautiful cast as well.
Yeah.
How were you able to
pull those
relationships?
Because that's like All-Star.
Yeah,
All-Star.
All-Star cast, yeah.
I remember hitting up Jesse Ndlela, and I was like,
Who's busy right now?
so mad, and he was busy then, bro. And I hit him up, and I was like, dog, I need a favor.
Yeah.
But I need you to pull up to the studio. So for everybody you saw in that video,
He was at the listening as well.
yeah, he was at the listening session. For everyone who pulled up at the studio, who pulled up for that video,
Yeah.
I got them into the studio and I played them the whole album before even asking them that favor.
Nice.
Yeah. So like everybody there was actually amongst the first people to hear the album.
Yeah.
Because I think I almost wanted to give them the weight of it all.
Yeah. They understood what they were.
Yeah. And the only way I figured I could do it was that. Because like I said, then what followed was like this treatment that says I'm a ram. So and I'd rather give you like the weight of it first. You know?
You're dealing with thespians, so they
Exactly.
kind of understand.
Yo, and they brought it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that thing was a movie,
video.
dude.
It translates, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It translates. It was so
It's
beautiful.
well shot.
Yeah, bro.
Everything's well done there, man.
Thank you, my dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, man. So, I don't know how really an anomaly that we enjoy seeing, an ever-present one. And, yo, man, we also excited to witness this post-release,
no.
Because if anything, if the pre is anything to go by, we in for mega treats, man.
Yeah.
Mega treats. And thank you, man, for making hip-hop look so
Yeah, man.
so good.
Yeah,
dog.
man.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so ebonite. It's crisp.
Yeah.
And it sounds nice. It sounds expensive.
Dude, it
dog.
sounds expensive, dog.
Like, it's really, really dope to hear something so well executed.
Yeah.
So high.
Especially
quality.
local hip hop, dog. Like,
Yeah.
I was listening to the Lupe album and I stopped it and went back to your album. Like, it's that, like, you know what I'm saying? It's that,
that's
like,
big, bro.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
really
man.
dope.
I think
It's
that
really
was
dope.
perfectly captured at the listening session. When you look at the venue and the installations,
Yeah.
and like I said, it's niggas.
No, but even the people there, like, besides, like, it wasn't just niggas, you know. For
also.
you had a bunte.
Let's relax, yo. There was a Yolanda. There was a Topsy. Shout out to
there was a
them
Topsy
also.
there.
Yo.
So it was well balanced.
Yeah, please. Because I mean, because he's leaning into this niggas thing, bro.
I think regulations is the wrong word.
Yeah, women, like definitely.
And not just
But-
women.
Yes,
You know,
for sure.
you know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Amazing women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I get what you're saying, because at the same time, there was a Mr. Salvin, there was a Wicked,
Yeah, you
there was a...
get-
I
Mr.
get you.
Salvin was bugging out to when you were sitting at the. Remember, we were watching
The
them
installation,
listen to
yeah.
the installation in
Yeah.
Dolby Atmos. There's a joint. I forget which joint where the bass hit. Though it was like, yo, you could see it in his
Yeah.
face. Like it was
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, bro.
So it's also seeing people like that. For me, it was like, oh, okay, this
It's
is
very
nice.
hip hop.
Yeah,
I think
it's
when you say
hip-hop, man.
nigga,
This
listen,
thing
listen,
of
nigga,
ours, man. Yeah.
So I was just thank you for you know what I mean, making it look so. And I think when you say this thing of ours, just like something that's also age appropriate.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? Like it's like it's something that you can grow into and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
grow with. And
Yeah.
this is the type of thing that you can play forever.
Yeah.
You know, and not even give context to like, nah, this was hard when, you know, this was
Yeah.
when we were rocking
Yeah.
this is when we were doing this. You can just let it play. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's generational as well.
I appreciate that,
I won't
bro.
lie, I'm tight though about the after party.
Why, bro?
Because we would have gone if we
would've
knew.
gone
If
if
we
we
would have
knew
gone
about
if we
it.
knew.
Bro,
Actually,
wasn't there a whole flyer that went
That's
out?
so funny. I thought, you know,
I posted it.
I thought,
What we talking?
I thought it was all one thing because I couldn't make it. I had a dinner with my homies.
Fellas, I posted the
we
thing.
literally
I saw stories.
The next day we're like, what's happening?
You didn't even Al didn't tell us like when we left. You didn't say, yo,
I
y'all ain't
just saw
coming to
stories. I was
the
like, yo.
Literally, you know the funny thing is that's around my way too.
So exactly. So my whole thing is, I actually expected y'all there, and I was like, nah. To be fair,
And then I see stories, I'm like, it's
I was like,
and
it was
litty.
I swear.
We could tell,
so
dog.
good.
I thought it was retrospective, though. I thought it was all one thing.
Okay,
I
get
didn't
you.
have context because I had a homie
Nah,
that I
we
could
would've
have
gone.
gone, right?
Yeah, we
So
would
I'm
have
seeing
decided.
that, but then at some point I'm like, no, man, get rockets.
Yeah, dog.
The fucked up thing about it was that I couldn't make out where that was.
I could Jamaica. I know where it was.
Yes.
I know where it was.
No, but are you saying now the next day, or are you saying
I think
as
in
you're
the
seeing
midst of
stories?
No, I was like, I saw pretty ugly stories. I think it was like
As it's happening,
yeah.
next day, okay. Because I was about to say, if you're seeing it live, then
If I seen it live, I would have drove.
Yeah, then you
it was
would've hit
literally
me,
like
yeah.
a stone's throw away.
I was like, yo, oh,
No, then we were both tight, nigga. Because I was also just like, oh, wait,
I was like, yo, man, we were just with all these niggas. All
Yeah, dog.
these niggas. At that time, I'm listening to the album, and then there's a line there. R.I.P. to my dogs that's been euthanized. I was like, this nigga euthanized us. All my niggas.
We put it up. Hard,
man.
dog.
Nah, but it was that listening pop-up was like
beautiful night.
really, really dope. Really
you,
dope.
fellas.
Really dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yo,
Appreciate
if you're
that.
doing a listening, you should have gone there to see and like what the listening should be done.
Yeah,
like,
man. And
that's
now you
just-
know the Dolby way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Jean
man.
Michel kept saying, no, go to the Dolby.
Yeah.
No,
Let's
you
go
had
there.
to.
Dog, he told me that like weeks in advance. He's like, yo, we're gonna do this thing. You have to
You
come in
have to.
here. You have
Yeah.
to come in here. And I was like,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's adamant that this is Dolby.
This is Dolby. Yeah,
Not
this
the
is
other
good
shit
Dolby. Not the
happening.
other shit.
Yeah, and when he catches you with a one-on-one, he's not shy to be like, oh, that other shit.
that other shit.
He's
Fuck that
passionate.
shit. Yeah.
He's like, yo, you know when I was young, I was passionate about music. I'm that passionate about Dolby Atmos. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I bet, man.
No, but also like because we've had so many people pull up to that studio, and like when you see people experience it for the first time, it's a crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. But I guess also, I'm guessing you went in creating it for Dolby.
No, bro.
Or it was
Not at all. We were in the mixing phase of the album,
Yeah.
right? And again, Ricky was just like, "Yo, man, not sure if you're familiar with this thing, but even then, he was like, I'm getting my setup soon. It's almost gonna be ready, and then if you can come in and experience it." So as soon as I experienced it, I was just like, plus we have the time.
Yeah.
Again, this was like January, so I was just like, "Yo, can we just lock in?" And I think, and especially for them, mine was probably the most hands-on it's been because there was the opportunity to do it, you know? And yeah, so we just like really leaned into it, and I'm glad we did, man. It sounds so good. Because even like in spatial audio, if you're just listening on Apple Music, like with your earphones, it still sounds,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, man, it just sounds so good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
Well done.
Thank you, fellas.
We're
Thank you
happy.
for coming again,
Thank you
man.
so
Shout
much
out,
for putting
Kings.
up, man. And Sobering alumni, the God Anomaly out now everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you bump that. Make sure, yo, man.
Yeah,
experience.
the album launch is what's next. That information will come out even then, like what we're trying
And the
to do
after
there.
party.
And the
After party. Let's already, yo, Cap. Hey, man, we need a round
let's go
two,
the whole
man.
line.
Need
Let's
another
go
one,
the whole
please,
line.
bro.
We also want to experience France solo, yo.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
Otherwise,
man.
Yeah.
All right, do your
close
thing,
it.
though. Yeah.
Swag. Shout out to my mom.
I bet. Thank you, brother.
Ah, man. Thank you, man.